Hey guys, I am a quarter of the way through Dream Thieves, and I cannot believe that this is my 5th book of the month. It's the 14th. Hi, Mr. Greybeard. Can you believe that? Oh my god, what the hell is happening to me? You used to only be able to do 3. Now, audiobooks have completely changed how this works, and most of the books I've read this month have been audiobooks. I've been switching back and forth, but I only have Dream Thieves in audio format. I'm going to get to my sequel of Lilith St. Crow, which is only a physical book, and half the books on my list for the library are audiobooks. Because I can read while I shower and while I cook, and that takes up so much of my day that I lost before. And I'm just excited about it. So, school's almost over. Oh my god, a couple more weeks. And I'm gonna do a challenge. But in the meantime, I'm gonna look forward to seeing how many books I can get through this month. I'm hoping on 10, because next month I'm hoping on 12. I've become a monster. Okay, I'm gonna go to work so I can get to reading again. Alright, so I am listening to It's the Raven Boys, number 2. The Dream Thieves. Okay, The Dream Thief. And I'm really enjoying Ronan. There's just something about him that I like. And I knew that when we got there. I knew why she chose the 4 boys that she did and the personalities. And naturally, he reminds me of my husband, so I like him the best. Even the short hair and the blue eyes, the rough attitude, the sarcastic nature of him. Although he's not as gung-ho about fighting he used to be when he was a teen, mostly because of being misunderstood. So I really like Ronan. I really like Yancy too. I like Adam. I do think that I'm not supposed to like Adam as much because, obviously she's meant to be with Yancy. It's pretty darn obvious. I'm excited to see who this girl in Ronan's dreams are. Because I had like a fan fiction story in my head with him and a girl in his dreams. Someone who's going to help his brokenness. So, anyways, I'm enjoying it. I'm about a third of the way through. I'm hoping to finish it in the next couple days. Since tomorrow I'm going to be doing a writing routine, and part of her routine is reading after she writes. I'm going to sit and read. There's a lot of cooking in her routine, so I'm going to read and cook. And it's going to be a good time. And hopefully tomorrow, the next day, I will finish book number 5. And get on to book number 6. So, I'm having a hell of an April. I'm gonna go grade papers now, because that needs to happen. So, bye guys. Poor Adam. Kind of brought it on himself, but still. Poor Adam. You see my background, I started cleaning it. 2.5 hours until I'm done with my audiobook of The Dream Thieves. And still, poor Adam. I'm worried about Ronan, but not worried about Ronan. But still.
Eyebrows. People always thought he had a friendly face. There was a lot of talk about sociopaths having frightening eyes, but not the gray man's brother. When he needed to blend in, he was as warm and as intimate as you could hope for. Even now, sitting there in the coop with that curled smile, he looked like a hero.
So, guys, I finished The Dream Thieves, and holy shit. That was a roller coaster with a very abrupt ending. I have at least like 3 or 4 weeks until the next audiobook's available. Motherfuckery. That's where I am right now. I love Ronan. Yep. I love Ronan. He's such a smart ass. Okay. I'm gonna go back to doing things that I'm gonna do. But next I'm going to be reading this guy, which will complete all of them on my TBR and still hopefully leave you time for something else. Last time it took me a week, who knows? Since this is a physical book, probably still take me a week. Because I can't multitask it. I might get another audiobook too. And multitask them together. Okay, I'm gonna go do stuff. So I finished Defy the Stars, and I'm gonna say like 3.54 stars. I enjoyed it. Some of it was a little bit predictable. I did like the parts that surprised me. I love the mech. He reminds me of Data from Star Trek, so the idea of sentience really does interest me. So I'm gonna have to read some more of this stuff, this AI romance space stuff. I'm into it. The ending is definitely a series ending, and I don't have book 2 available at my library, so I'm kind of like, However, I closed the book and returned it. And Wicked King was waiting for me, so can't be too sad. I've started it already. Yep. I'll let you know how it goes when I get very far. I'm only in like chapter 1 or 2, so Good reading day though. I've abandoned my poor physical books for audiobooks. It just fits right now. When I get another chance after all this grading is done over the next few days, I will go back to my physical book. You ready to go outside? Wanna go outside? Oh God. Oh, it's bright. It's bright, kitty. Oh, it's bright, kitty. Do you like being outside? You went outside, kitty. Once upon a time. Wanna go see the flowers, Asheron? They've opened. Some of them have opened. Are you eating grass? Don't eat grass. Don't do that. Hey, hey, come on. Happy kitty. Pumpkins. Pumpkins. I know he's outside and you are not. A little bit like Einstein, I feel like right now. Look at this crazy fucking hair. I just wanted to update you guys a little bit on my reading. So I have started The Wicked King, which is a sequel to The Cruel Prince, and even though it's being a little bit I feel like because I've heard so much negativity about it here recently that I'm trying to be resistant, and it's slowly eating at me again, and it kept me up all night again. So I'm just gonna stop fighting it. It's my kind of book, and we'll deal with that. So yay, I'm gonna go read, listen to it here in a moment when I go cook lunch. So I just finished editing a video. I finished all of my grading for the day. Thank God. 7 essays yesterday, and somehow I still wrote words. I don't know what the fuck is up with my brain, but it happened. The nap helped. But yeah, gonna go edit some videos for class because I have 2 to go up tomorrow. Yay. Okay, reading time. I am reading or listening to The Wicked King, and I have like 2 hours left on my audiobook, and I keep doing the one more chapter thing. But I have other stuff to do right now that I can't listen to my book during, and I'm going crazy. I better finish this tonight, or I'm gonna go crazy. Okay, that's all. Gonna go do my stuff. And then I was devastated. So I just woke up, and I am still thinking about The Wicked King. Thought about it all night. Had to keep going. Alisha, stop it. Go to sleep. Think about something else. And it's not that I am totally upset about the way the book ended, because, you know, cliffhanger, it's supposed to be the way it is. It's more of a what I think is going to happen in the next book and wanting to know if I'm right. Having to wait 7 weeks for it, which granted, not as bad as a year, so I can't complain too terribly much, especially since I'm getting it for free from the library. I am totally going to buy these books, by the way, to own them because, new favorite author. Not my ultimate favorite author, but a new favorite author, like, is on that list. Very few on that list, with Christopher Pike and Tim O'Brien. Now we have Holly Black, and we're gonna have, I can't even say her name, Maggie, a Raven Voice lady. So what I'm gonna do to test this theory is I'm gonna read one of their other books to be sure that they're favorite authors, but I have one of Holly Black's other books on my TBR for next month, so I'm excited to see if I enjoy that as much as I enjoy this series. But the point was that I've been thinking about this book all night. Hi, kitty. Did you decide it was time to be on my desk? I guess it's time to be on my desk and to get love. Point is, it wrecked me. I'm pretty excited about that. I forgot what it felt like to have a book hangover, so I tried jumping into another book. It distracted me a little bit. Still thinking about this one though. And that one's a long book, it's 15 hours. So we'll see how I feel about that. I liked the first chapter. And it's, I think it's The Children of Blood and Bone. I'm excited to see what happens with it. We'll be reading it while I cook and eat, and I'm gonna try, finally, now that I'm not being obsessive, to get to this one, because I need to. It was on my TBR for this month, and I've started it a whole whopping couple pages, not even the first chapter done, because I fell asleep on the couch. I've only really been reading audiobooks, so, yeah, there's my update. Gonna go separate some cats. I'm here again, because I did all of this at the same time. I'm breaking the fourth wall and showing you behind the scenes. Not really. I just filmed my new TBR for May, and it's massive. And my Rhodopoly, which is also massive. And I've been reading The Children of Blood and Stone. Is that what I've been reading? Let me check if that's what I've been reading. I can't remember anymore. I'm currently watching Casey from Lost in a Bookcase and her TBR, which is super funny. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and I'm about 4.5 hours into the audiobook, and it's starting to get pretty good. For me, it was a little slow to start, but that might have been because of the anticipation of a 17-hour audiobook, which is rather long for me. It's about twice the size of what I normally read. But I'm liking the similarities between the characters, even given their differences. And the magic. I think the magic part of it's pretty interesting with the political stuff. I'm not usually a very political type of reader, even within magical realms, because I don't read high fantasy for that reason. I'd rather urban fantasy, so they don't have to go through all of the info dumping that happens in a high fantasy, because it's necessary for a high fantasy to build world. And this one's doing a little bit better with that. It's not as slow to build the world, and there's action throughout to help do that. There is a few things that have repeated a few times, and I'm like, didn't really need that again. But I understand why it's there. In any case, I'm enjoying it. I'm a quarter of the way through it, and I hope to finish reading it before the loan's due back in 6 days. So, baking cinnamon rolls helped. Anyway, reading update. I'm gonna go back and eat those cinnamon rolls. Having a real bad case of the I don't want to, so I think I'm gonna go outside and listen to my book. So I finished the audiobook of The Children of Blood and Bone, and I'm not sure how I feel yet, honestly. I went through a nice roller coaster of emotions through this whole thing of being really into it and then falling back and being really into it and falling back and liking characters and then wanting them dead. I don't know how I feel, but I'm done. New angle. I am on top of my snake aquarium. Terrarium. It's wood and it's open, so terrarium. I finally gathered my thoughts on The Children of Blood and Bone, and first my rating's a 3.5, which is not so much to say anything about her writing style, but more of my preference and the length of the book. I felt like the book was too long. I felt like too much happened to her, to Zaylee in this, and that it should have probably been separated into 2 books, honestly. But that's, again, more personal preference. I didn't think we needed to see towns burn more than once. We had a few of the same types of torture happen, and I thought it could have been condensed a little bit in that regard. I also think the romance was too fast, which leads to my anger at the end. I am not forgiving of the little prince. I had hoped he had died at the end, so spoiler, he doesn't, and I wanted him to, and I don't think he deserves any type of redemption. I don't think he deserves redemption, and book 2 might persuade me otherwise, but it's going to be a little while before I try book 2. I am too pissed off at how it ended, at the needless tropey betrayal that happened, and how weak-willed that character was, and how easily this fiery character, who also, she doesn't really have a weak will, she has weak confidence, and so he's got a lot of confidence but no will, and she's got no confidence and a hell of a lot of will, and I get their balance. I loved their romance when it came up, but fuck you, little prince. Fuck you. I hope you burn in the next one. I also thought some of the perspectives weren't needed as much as we were given them, but on the positive note, I loved the magic. I loved the way that discrimination was shown in this, especially since it wasn't a matter of skin color race, but rather of genetic makeup and abilities. And I think that's a more powerful way of creating a message rather than simply focusing on race, which is an issue, but in order to talk about it without a lot of hurt feelings and whatnot, to talk about it in fiction when it does not directly address the same exact issues that we have, but the general vibe and feel and behaviors rather than the exact details that we have, which is something that I very much appreciated about it. And I know she talked about it at the end. I didn't really listen to the author's note. I don't usually. And just as one more note, I loved the arena section, boats battling each other in this giant arena when they're without water, and they use all of this water for pretty much death upon death upon death every night. And I loved that bit. Yeah, 3.5. I would recommend. I think a lot of people would like it. I'm just nitpicky. So, there you go. Hello, my peoples. Thank you for joining me on my weird ass journey to figure out how to read again. So this month I've had an absolutely bonkers month. Audiobooks have become my new addiction. If you saw my last vlog, I actually had to split up my reading vlog into two. And that, of course, is what brought us to this end point of me trying to wrap up my crazy, crazy thoughts. And I just wanted to list through the books that I read this month because fucking A, guys. I read a lot. First book this month I read was The Cruel Prince because I started reading The Raven Boys first, but The Cruel Prince came and swept up my heart and made me go bonkers. And then I read The Raven Boys and absolutely loved both of these books, both 5-star books for me. Super excited to have 2 new authors to follow and 2 new series to work through. A love series, more than I like standalones, so a love series, and they're both awesome. I also continued another series, which was the Etiquette and Espionage. There's 4 of them, and I've gotten through 2 now, so I got through the second, which is Courtesies and Conspiracies. I gave it, again, 4 stars. It was still good. It dealt with a lot more mature things, which made me happy. There's a love triangle that's introduced. I'm on board. I'm reading the next 2 books next month to finish up her series and might continue on to some of the other steampunk stuff that she has. So, might have another, not favorite author, but following author, an author to follow that I enjoy her work. So we'll see if any further series connects with me or not. 4th book I read this month, already more than the past months that I have read, is Wires and Nerve, which is a graphic novel. I kind of feel like it's cheating because it was so short, and it was pretty good. It was a 3.5 star. I liked the main storyline more than I liked all the side things catching up and the pandering that occurred in it. But it is young adult, and that does happen more often, I think, in young adult than it does in other types of genres. So, yes. Then I meant to start reading this guy right here, which is the second in a series that I started reading in February, and I didn't even get through the first chapter. I have, again, been consumed by audiobooks because they're just easier to get through while I'm cooking, and that's like 2 or 3 hours a day, guys, that I spend cooking, and then I'm reading a book. So this is why my reading has jumped so dramatically, and also why I planned myself to have 13 books next month. I am an insane person, but I have no grading, so it'll work out. I didn't get through that. I'm hoping in June I can get through that instead. I didn't get through one of my planned 4 for my TBR in April, but I got through 4 already, and I got through maybe, I think, another 4. So next I read number 2 in the Raven cycle, which is The Dream Thieves, and I again gave it 5 stars. I am in love with Ronan. Oh my gosh, which I'm sure I blathered about for quite a while already in this video, but I have hearts. I have heart. I can't do it because my other hand's holding the thing, but I have hearts for Ronan. Love Ronan. Then I read Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray, and I enjoyed this one too. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was just a quick, easy read. Some of the stuff was really predictable. The audiobook I liked and disliked because the robot sounded robotic, so like I didn't think that was necessary, but I did really enjoy the story, and I would be reading book 2 if they had it at my library, but they don't. So I requested it. We'll see what happens when she gets, of course, her another sale too. Then, oh my god, it consumed me. I read the second to The Cruel Prince, the sequel to it, which of course is The Wicked King, and it completely demolished my sanity for a couple days. I still think about it quite often. And the next one originally was 7 weeks I was waiting for it. Then it went down to 6 weeks, and now I'm at 4 weeks. So I might get it before the end of the month. You might see me reading it in May instead of one of my other books, because as soon as I get it, I'm going to drop everything and I'm going to read it, which has been really hard because I have book 3 of the Raven Cycle waiting on my phone right now, but I want to read it for a readathon, so it's sitting there waiting, and I'm going nuts, and so I started reading other books instead, and I'm just sitting there watching it going, oh my god, I need to read this thing, I need to know what happens now, but soon my loves, soon. Another 5-star, The Wicked King. Can't wait to have The Queen of Nothing in my hands, or on my phone, or yes. So after that, I was at a loss and I needed something else to read, and I'd heard a lot of good things about The Children of Blood and Bone, and that's by Tomi Adeyemi, I think is how you say that. And this was a pretty good book. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's more just personal preference, which I'm sure I just talked about because it was the last book that I read. And that brings me up to what? 7 books for the month. I did read 70% of Circe, which is one of my books for May, but since I'm finishing it in May, I'm gonna count it for a May book. Anyways, that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I read 8 books this month. Holy shit. Pat myself on the back. And since I'm cleaning my house this month, I should definitely get through way more. I'm not going to add Dead Man Rising onto this 13 books that I want to read, but I'm going to have to come up with more trackers in my bullet journal to track the stuff. Yay. I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't have any wisdom about reading. I do have a tiny bit of wisdom. Now, I've been watching Books on Lala for a little while and completely obsessed with her channel and watching all of her old stuff and things, and the way she talks about how she was in a reading slump and she was relearning what she liked to read, and I kind of feel that way. Like, I know very specific things that I like to read. I know that I like urban fantasy with strong females. I know that I like light sci-fi. I know that I like books that have some romance in it. I know that I don't like classic literature. I know that I like steampunk. I did not know that I liked gothic literature as much as I did, even though Sin Eater last month was a little bit of a struggle to get through. What I'm finding is reaffirming, and this is actually one of the things on my list of things I want to read more of, because I'm thinking that I can find something that fits this category that I enjoy way more than the ones that I have been reading, and that is epic or high fantasies. I've never liked epic and high fantasies because the only exposure I've ever had to it is things like Lord of the Rings, and that's not my jam. So if you guys have suggestions for epic or high fantasies that you think I will enjoy because they're not the typical, or they're the better done ones of them rather than the classic ones of it, which is part of the problem with Lord of the Rings, is it's classic, and I don't like classics. Classics have a lot of telling in them, and that drives me bonkers. Suggestions there would be greatly appreciated, because I would like to find something that I can enjoy, but I'm struggling to do so. I'm going to keep trying things outside of my comfort zone, and I'm doing that this next month. I've been doing that with Circe, but you'll hear about that in a bit. Trying to figure out what I like, what I don't like, new authors to find, instead of reading the same thing over and over and over again, which is something I typically do. Same type of story with different variations of details. I like to see how people vary the details, which is why I like vampire literature so much, because there's so many different ways to tell this story. And if you find a story that's got all of that knowledge of all of the past cultures and stereotypes and myths and legends and whatnot for that type of lore, it's really interesting to weave out what experiences they've had based on how they write them, or what cultures they're referencing based on the attributes that they give the vampires, or the things that, what is that word, repel them. And I know vampires are passé now, or they're over because of Twilight. Well, I loved vampires for 10 years before Twilight came around, and I still love vampires. And my geek button in this regard, I'm sorry I'm ranting about vampires right now, but is that most vampire lores were used to explain things that we couldn't explain about us physically, about us spiritually, about us socially, and we can use monster literature that focuses on monsters like vampires, like werewolves, like banshees and ghosts, and all of the supernatural beings that we create and romanticize now to help us navigate the more difficult parts of life. And they focus on religion and culture in that way and showcase our development of our thoughts, and that's why I like vampires. It's a very academic answer to something so, I guess, juvenile or cliche, but I've loved vampires since I was 13. I'm 35. Yeah, I'm gonna continue to love them. But I need to read more than just vampire literature, right? I need to read more than just gods and goddesses and demons and demigods and angels. I need more than that, right? I should. I should broaden my horizons. That is the journey I'm gonna take myself on this summer, is to try new things. As well as attack my physical TBR. But first I have to clean my house so I can get access to my physical TBR. My husband's gonna build me shelves, hopefully, and a new desk. Both necessary, because I am literally, you know how some people double stack their books on a shelf? My office is double stacked. I have my bookshelves, then I have my desk. I have bookshelves, and then I have my snake. I have bookshelves, and then I have stacks of papers, and it's just ridiculous. So I'm babbling now. Anyways, read new stuff, try new things. Excited to have more than doubled my reading capacity over this last month, and to completely disappear into audiobooks. Ebooks too. And my library. Thank you, library. Thank you, Guthrie Public Library, for being there during this quarantine and giving me access to things I wouldn't have access to otherwise. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you guys. So let me know how you're doing with your reading. Let me know if you have any books that you think I would enjoy or that I should try and give a chance, even if it is outside of my comfort zone, even if it's a classic. I will take these suggestions. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.